Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Monday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. It's game 4 tonight, but has Darvin Ham already mucked up this series for the Lakers? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everyone for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcast. It's always going to be free. It's never going to be behind a paywall. And Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go to see the show, hang out with over 17,000 subscribers, Lakers fans, NBA fans, and people hoping for a miracle, Andy, as the Lakers are down 0-3. That is a deficit that has never been overcome, Andy, at least in the NBA. It has happened in baseball. It has happened in hockey. So we are due for something like this to happen in the NBA. Why not now?
For what it's worth, I'm dead serious about this. At least they are not just seemingly giving up like the Celtics against Miami. They lost tonight 128-102 in a game that wasn't even that close. In a game also that Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo combined for 29 points. It was Gabe Vincent and Duncan Robinson delivering the beatdown. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown combined for 26 points, 12 of 35. At least the Lakers are getting housed by Denver's stars, if nothing else. They're not looking for KCP and Aaron Gordon, Denver, to take care of business like Nikola Jokic.
It's more like Bruce Brown and, then KCP. One guy off the bench, Christian Brown coming ooff the bench and doing something. Look, it is important to stay focused on what matters. And, obviously the Lakers have, put them, but it's okay to, as a Lakers fan, to, take a brief moment of happiness knowing that it's worse for Boston.
Yeah.
I mean, that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little petty, but so am I. It's fine.
It is never, when it comes to the Lakers and the Celtics, unacceptable to be petty.
Nope.
It is never unacceptable. But yeah, the Lakers obviously looking to try to extend this thing for as long as they possibly can for whatever it's worth. Mo Bamba will be active for game 4. I have a personal message to Darvin Ham. Please play the guy like 5, 7, even perfunctory non-garbage time minutes, just so Brian and I don't need to hear from the surprisingly active Bomba Hive. Please. We have so little.
I did not know the man had fans, and God bless him, but he does.
But look, I guess it can't hurt to have options. You and I have both been very skeptical about, once Bamba was healthy, how much a guy that has barely played with this team less than 90 minutes this season and has played about 10 total minutes in the playoffs in his career, all garbage time, can really do to elevate the Lakers. But again, given where they are, backs against the wall, down 0-3, it likely is going to be all hands on deck. So every option possible, why not?
This gets into a lot of what we're going to talk about with Darvin Ham today, which is, what a difference the series makes, Andy, because we left the Golden State series, both you and me, and I would say most Lakers fans are pretty pleased with Darvin's work in that series. Of course, the big difference, the Lakers won that one and are seemingly on their way to getting eliminated, starting, whether it, comes on the home floor Monday night, or back in Denver, or at some point. Although I agree with it. I do expect the Lakers to make it hard on Denver. They will try. And
absolutely.
I think that the chances of them having to go back to Denver, couple things, it's regression to the mean. At some point, the Lakers are going to have a game where they hit outside shots at an outsized rate. D'Lo is probably due for one of those games, and we're going to get to him in a second. I kind of almost hope he doesn't have it, because that's going to make people even angrier if he has a 7 of 10 3-point shooting game in game 4. It's
not if they win, not if the Lakers
if they win. No, I think that'll tick off a ton of people.
No,
I think it will. I think it will.
You know what those people are? Bleep holes. I mean, honestly, they're bleep holes.
But do you think I'm wrong?
Yeah, I do actually think you're wrong.
Oh, I disagree. I think they're great now that the pressure's off and it doesn't matter. But anyway, so we'll get to that. And then I think the other thing is how hard Denver really pushes it to win in game 4 versus being content to try to go back to Denver and win in game 5 on Wednesday. But the Darvin conversation, I think, starts in part with D'Angelo Russell, because he has been bad, really, really bad in this series. He is shooting, I believe, 16% from 3-point range. That is not going to get it done.
And shooting 14%.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Here I was goosing his numbers.
No, it's LeBron that's shooting 16% from behind the arc.
Like I said, at some point they're due for a game where the percentages even out a little bit. But, obviously Russell has struggled mightily in these 3 games. Denver has attacked him defensively. D'Lo has provided nothing on the offensive side. A 365 true shooting percentage, which is really low. So, I mean, by comparison, Austin Reeves is at 775, almost 76%. So, it has a lot of people saying that Russell should have been pulled from the lineup, that D'Lo, that Ham has made a massive mistake in not pulling him from the lineup, giving him 20 minutes in game 3, for example. And it's really called for a lot of people called into question the future for Russell in LA. So it's a lot to unpack here, but let's start with just the basic one. Did Darvin make a mistake, Andy, in game 3 by keeping Russell in the lineup and then playing him for 20 minutes, I believe it was?
I don't think there was a mistake, in part because he needs to play. Like, the Lakers do not have enough other guys playing well to just outright sit D'Angelo Russell, unless, and I think this is going to become a part of the larger conversation with Darvin, but unless you're going to start playing guys that heretofore were considered unplayable, not just by Darvin Ham, but frankly, all y'all watching and listening, because we heard you screaming to sit some of the people that we will eventually
Malik Beasley, Troy Brown,
exactly. Like, those guys had been struggling terribly, and D'Lo, on balance, played well in the previous 2 series.
His bad games were noticeable, but he had a lot of strong. He was a big reason they made it through both of those series. Exactly. I think.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. As far as whether or not he should be sitting or coming off the bench, I mean, at this point, I would be probably more surprised if he wasn't coming off the bench than if he started.
Oh, so you don't think he'll start on Monday tonight?
I do. I would be actually surprised. We'll see. I would be surprised. Maybe not shocked, but surprised.
Why? I'm curious about your reasoning.
Because I think Darvin likely realizes he needs to try something. And you might want to just try to get Jamal Murray's rhythm in a different place by starting Dennis Schroeder on him, maybe creating these situations where, you're possibly switching Vanderbilt onto him like that.
I think they've done that. I mean, it's like, they haven't tried to make D'Angelo Russell the primary defender.
No, I understand that, but just fewer places where you can go defensively for Denver's entire offense. I mean, look, there's downsides to this. D'Angelo Russell's shooting slump has overshadowed the fact that both Dennis Schroeder and Lonnie Walker are also struggling to score. But I just wouldn't be surprised at this point if, in certain respects, you might actually be taking some of the pressure off D'Angelo by playing him off the bench, because there's been so much talk about benching him at this point. But I don't blame Darvin for trying to make this work one more game, because They need to get Russell going if at all possible. Like if everybody else was playing well, you would have the luxury of just saying, all right, we're going to sit D'Lo, maybe even take him out of the rotation. If enough guys were playing well, fine. They don't have enough guys playing well. So they need to try, if possible, to get Russell going. D'Angelo's minutes were cut to 20.
They played him as little. They played him as little as they could, I think, and still have a functional rotation.
So no, to be honest, I don't really have an issue with Darvin trying it because I get why he was trying. There's been other things Darvin I think has done wrong. I don't think this is one of them.
I think it actually there's more to it than that even, and I actually think he will probably start game 4.
We'll see.
We maybe get into some of those reasons next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Prize Picks, and if you have not signed up for Prize Picks, you are missing out on daily fantasy made easy and the $1 million daily Superflex promotion every day of the NBA playoffs and the finals. One Prize Picks user will win a chance of becoming a millionaire. One entry placed after 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time will be randomly selected each day, and whoever placed that entry will be given a 6-pick flex with the following payouts: 6 correct picks, $1 million. 5 correct picks, 80 grand. 4 correct picks, 16 grand. Full details can be found at prizepicks.com/million. You must opt in at this link to be eligible for the $1 million entry. And once you opt in, all you have to do is play the game like normal, and you could be the lucky winner. PrizePicks has the best NBA DFS prop game on the market. They offer more NBA props than any other DFS prop operator. All the superstar players, the bench players, just pick 2 to 6. And whether they will notch more or less in the PrizePicks stats projection, you can win up to 25 times your money. PrizePicks offers projections on everything from MLB to the NHL playoffs, cricket. Use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. Safe, fast withdrawals. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com. Sign up, play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 using the promo code Locked On. Again, don't forget the promo code Locked On for the sign up at the instant match. If you're not playing Prize Picks, you don't know what you're missing.
So quick reminder, go to the SXM app, search Lakers, that's Sirius XM, and you can find them. 5:30 is the tip tonight in LA, local time at the Crypt. Lakers trying to keep their season alive. So I think Russell will probably start and they'll keep doing it just because I think while there's been a lot of people talking about how I think that the Lakers are coddling him, they're, accommodating him, but I think I disagree with that take, by not benching him. Like they're just protecting him, they're coddling him. And I think actually at this point, if you do it, it almost looks like you're just kind of blaming him for what's gone wrong. Now, I don't know if they will or they won't. I don't care if they do or they don't. I don't necessarily think there's a better alternative because he's going to play 20 minutes regardless. And that I think is to me the part that I think sometimes some fans are missing is that if Russell doesn't play, it's not, yes, the defense is problematic. And if he's not scoring, he's problematic, but he also is one of their more effective ball handlers and offensive initiators in the pick and roll. And if you put him on the bench, like the few good moments that Russell has had in this series have come when he's handling the ball, feeding Anthony Davis, coming off a screen, drawing fouls. And there have been some of that. And if you don't have him on the floor at all, you're relying on Austin Reeves and LeBron to do all of that. You need the skill set. And if you start, the Lakers already have an incredibly limited half-court offense right now as it is. If you start removing options, and this is the thing that I think, we've talked about it a lot throughout the playoffs. It's not, these kinds of rotation changes are not just about remove player A, insert player B. Whenever you do that, if you insert Troy Brown or if you insert Max Christie or someone, there's a ripple effect on what everything else that happens on the floor, what every other player has to do on the floor. And I don't think, I agree with you. They don't have the personnel to get away with playing Russell less than 20-ish minutes a night. Like there was a 0% chance he was going to play in the, deep into the fourth quarter in game 3. 0. He wasn't on the court at the beginning. Like he barely played at the beginning. I believe the beginning of the quarter, they got him on for like a minute and a half when LeBron or when they were making
He
some.
played about
AD,
3.5 minutes in the fourth. He played about 3.5 minutes in the fourth.
And it was all designed. The whole thing, that everything that they were doing was designed to get that Reeves, Hachimura, Schroeder, LeBron, AD lineup on the floor with a chance to win. It was. I get the frustration, but I don't think I don't see this as one of Darvin's big shortcomings, because you are much better off, in my opinion, hoping that your all-star caliber player, guy who's made an all-star team, has had bad moments in the other two series, but rebounded from them to give you big time stretches where he carried their offense, and is basically been a high 30% 3-point shooter over the last few seasons, is not going to keep shooting 14%. You just have to, sometimes you just have to sort of hope that guys get better. And there is no adjustment for really important players are playing poorly.
Well, this was a tweet that we got at Cam Brothers from @occupy_Staples. Without D'Lo, the Lakers are playing a key man short. And it's really true. Like, they are incredibly shorthanded in terms of their top end, which is extremely important when you're playing against a team that is, frankly, better than them. Not so much better that the Lakers at their top end couldn't possibly beat them.
No, but they can't compete if D'Lo plays like this.
Exactly. Like, they, for all intents and purposes, they are playing a man down. We can talk about adjustments that Darvin has made, hasn't made, that fans want him to have made, mistakes in either our eyes or in the eyes of fans, our viewers, our listeners, all of that. Adjustments, though, only work if players are stepping up. And it is very difficult to make adjustments when arguably your two most consistent players, or if nothing else, the two guys who have stepped up the most in terms of what you expect from them and what they've delivered, are Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura. Like, that is a difficult road to hoe when two role players are in their own right playing the best on this team. That's tough.
Yeah.
That's a tough
But
go.
it's interesting too. Like, people get really frustrated in the playoffs because, look, I get, like, this is once you're there, it's like you got a chance to go to the finals. Like, it's a real chance to go to the finals. Are you favored to go to the finals? No. Would you pick the Lakers? Would most people pick the Lakers to get through? Most people didn't, but many did. And, certainly you and I gave them, much more than a puncher's chance of getting through this series. But, you need everybody to be playing well at the right moments. And, you don't have to go back that far where we were all worried that Austin Reeves was cooked. Like the beginning of that Golden State series, it looked like Reeves was done for the playoffs because he was so tired. But he's worked through it, whatever. Like, there's on Earth 6, D'Angelo Russell's having a nice series, except we don't live there. And the Lakers are, you take away Austin Reeves, 13 for 23 from 3-point range. The Lakers are now would be 16 of 63 from 3. Like, that's just not enough. You can't win a series like that. And that's LeBron and it's Russell, but it's also sort of the structural problems with the team that Malik Beasley hasn't been able to play. Like, this is part of the reason why I was pointing out at the beginning of the playoffs how important it was to potentially have a playable Beasley through the playoffs, because you need to be able to stretch the floor in a series like this. And it just hasn't worked. And like a lot of the players, in this trade, haven't performed in this series or at different times in the playoffs. There's going to be a lot of conversation about how this impacts Russell's future with the Lakers and how much it should. I don't know if we necessarily want to get into all of that today, but
there's plenty of time.
But it is a major thing. The everydayers are going to be, it's going to be a debate for the everydayers throughout, the next few weeks. And I can tell you that if Twitter and the comments page on the Locked On Lakers YouTube page is any indication, my opinion on this is going to be unpopular with a large segment of the Lakers population.
Well, really quick, just on D'Lo, because I guess this is tangentially
and after this, we'll get to the other potential changes that Darvin has or hasn't made.
Right. I just wanted to point this out just because it's connected to it, and it had been something that was reported at the beginning of this series. Dave McMenamin from ESPN, a friend of the show, his report that the Lakers were hesitant to start Schroeder ahead of Russell because of, quote, losing Russell, which was interpreted by some, and certainly you, Brian, like the idea of D'Lo reacting poorly out of ego, out of pouting, and perhaps the Lakers even putting out that narrative as a way of
a few potential things, because these were reportedly from Dave, multiple team sources.
Right.
But then that can mean executives, it can mean players, it can mean a lot of
that doesn't even matter. That doesn't even matter for what I'm going to get into. Dave was on ESPN LA 710 a couple days ago and was asked about this to clarify a bit. And he said that his reporting had nothing to do in terms of losing D'Lo with the idea of his own ego or the politics of this upcoming free agency, having to massage that, pouting, anything like that. It was purely about the Lakers worrying about his confidence plummeting. And if he saw himself as getting demoted, and you can argue about whether or not that's something the Lakers have the luxury of thinking about right now. But the reason I bring this up is just the idea of it not being a diva thing for D'Lo, it not be we're worried about him leaving, so we have to keep playing him. Like, the losing him part of it wasn't that. It was them recognizing his confidence could be fragile right now, and we need him back playing well, because we cannot survive this series without D'Angelo Russell playing well. That's the only reason I bring this up.
Yeah, and we'll like I said, we'll get back into a lot of this again, and I had sort of three different potential interpretations of what that report looked like and why it was done the way it was. But let's turn to other things regarding Darvin and the rest of this series, because whatever shine was put onto the apple following Memphis, and certainly even more so after Golden State, is off the apple in the eyes of a lot of Lakers fans. We'll do that next. Quick reminder that today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match of up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. That's prizepicks.com, promo code Locked On. Also, 5:30 tonight, if you search your Sirius XM app, that's the SXM app, and you search Lakers in there, you can find the Lakers in Game 4 against Denver, trying to hang on and send this bad boy back to Denver. Look, one game at a time. You win Game 4, Andy, you go back to Game 5. Now all I got to do is win one road game, and suddenly you're back at home, and the pressures, they'll get a little tight on those collars for the Denver Nuggets.
You got to fill up your cup. These are the cups that Darvin Ham is giving these guys to fill up right now.
Darvin's taken a ton of heat in this series. I don't really think it's fair. It's like you said, the major criticism is, why is D'Angelo Russell playing? And it is a criticism I disagree with. I don't think there's a magic bullet on the bench. I don't think there is a lever he hasn't pulled that is just sort of sitting there for everyone to see. I think the Lakers are getting outplayed by a better team at a time when their best players are not at their best. And that can't be in a Western Conference final.
Yeah. I mean, there have been a lot of comments in the YouTube comment section. Also just tweets hitting us up at Cam Brothers about us being unwilling to criticize Darvin Ham. And that's just patently false. Like, I spent at least
hammered him after Game 1. Like, half the show was you ripping him.
I obsessed over him starting with that 3-guard lineup that may have worked against Golden State, but it made no sense against Denver. And
so people understand, it wasn't just during the show that Andy was like going back to it and hammering it. Before the show, texting me. After the show, texting me. The next day, still texting me
and
about
look,
like he was not pleased.
And I said unequivocally on the show that to me was the single biggest factor. If I had to identify one with the Lakers losing game one, it was Darvin's decision to do that, because it was, to me, an obviously terrible decision. During the Memphis series, I spent, I don't know, pretty much every show between game 2 to like game 6 saying the time had obviously come for Darvin to sit either one or both of Malik Beasley, Troy Brown, play Wenyen Gabriel during the minutes without Anthony Davis because they were too small, getting killed on the boards. We did a show dedicated to the question of whether Darvin was up for coaching in the playoffs, like whether that inexperience could lead to getting out coached.
I am generally more sympathetic to the decisions that coaches make or don't make than you are, and I've had plenty of things to be like, that was dumb.
Right. But
so our bona fides are real on this one,
right? But the truth is, where the Lakers are right now after game one, which again, a decision that I said was awful, and I think played a big role in costing them game one. There are not many avenues at Darvin's disposal right now for him to make things work. Like, there are too many players not holding up their end of the bargain. We've talked about all the role players. LeBron, let's be honest, he has not even been consistently the second best Laker in this series.
The outside shooting has been particularly
his decision making
really
down the stretch.
But that in particular, I think not to get hung up on this, I think just broadly, he's been better in this series than you have, but he hasn't been good. I think where we both agree is he has not been good enough.
No,
if you need to match Jokic and Murray with your two best players, LeBron has not done that, and Anthony Davis hasn't done that.
No, but I mean, I think AD has come closer than LeBron. Like, AD at least had a.
But I don't think
okay,
that's fine, but I don't think either one of them has gotten there.
Sure, but I mean, like, LeBron has not elevated his level in a way that LeBron traditionally has in the playoffs for reasons that we all, I think, can understand, but in a lot of respects, they don't matter. Like, this is the position we're in right now. If you look at Darvin's options, like, okay, let's say he starts Schroeder ahead of D'Lo. Then you're talking about him with Vanderbilt, two guys in the starting lineup struggling to score. Okay, you replace Vanderbilt with Rui Hachimura. Now you have an entire bench that doesn't score because Lonnie Walker is slumping right now. Let's just say, like we talked about before, you play your top 5 guys like 45 minutes. Maybe it gets you through game 4, but that's not a solution. That's a Band-Aid. Like, that's being on a ship with like 12 big holes on it. You're given one piece of duct tape and being told, figure this out. Like, that's not also a solution.
It feeds the problem too, because part of the issue with LeBron is that, LeBron played, I think, 43. Anthony Davis played 40 something. Reeves played 40 something in this game. And in game 3, and Hachimura played almost 36, I think. It was over 35. You're not gonna play more than that. Like, it's difficult to do. Like, that's about what you can do. I like Rui a lot. I think, he's played very well, and I got one of those Bluey Hachimura t-shirts that people have been seeing on the web. And I got one of those for my kid, and I'm all on board here. Bring the man back. But, I don't, the defensive adjustment of him on Jokic that they did in game 1, like, that was not a permanent solution to like something that would change the series. And I didn't think it was at the time, and it hasn't been. And, he has played very well, but he can't lift your team through the thing. Should he have played a little bit more in game 2? Okay. I can go with that, but I feel like the major issues that we're talking about here, you see people, why just make a change? It's something is better than nothing. And I think fundamentally that's a lot of the criticism, is just do something different. But that's not adjusting. That's not making a strategic decision. That's dart throwing.
Yeah.
And praying and hoping something.
There's say they're at the dart throwing stage right now. Sure, fine. But again, to your point, and you're right, those are not adjustments.
No. playing Max Christie in this series, meaningful minutes, is not an adjustment, it's a prayer. And that's, to me, is a pathway that, like, can Max Christie play some in game 4 to get a little bit of experience? Lakers probably aren't going to win this series. So if you want to try something like that now that the pressure is off the series, okay, that's maybe you can make an argument for that. Let the kid have some meaningful playoff minutes. But if you're really trying to win the game and do that, you don't do that. Like that is not something that you do. You don't take a guy, Malik Beasley, maybe you give him a shot. But come in and say, but like, again, that is a prayer. And I held out.
He's been unplayable before.
Right. I held out longer than anybody on the Malik Beasley caravan, because for reasons I think we're sort of seeing now. But I'm not itching to put the guy back in. That's a prayer. That is not an adjustment. And you need options. And I feel like the Lakers ran into a bad matchup. They've run out of energy. If D'Angelo, if in a world where Russell is playing better, all of this looks different. In a world where LeBron is probably healthier, a little more spry, a lot of this looks different. I think, where Anthony Davis and LeBron are elevating a little bit higher over their station right now, a lot of these things look different, but they're not. And this happens in the postseason where you just hit the wrong stuff at the wrong time.
My last thing I wanted to bring up with Darvin and adjustments, decisions, all that, and it came to mind when you mentioned energy. There have been a lot made about his decision during the fourth quarter. There was 7:48 left in the fourth. The Lakers starting to push, and LeBron, Rui got to the line on a foul dunk, and LeBron got subbed out for Lonnie Walker. So you ended up with a lineup of Lonnie, Reeves, Schroeder, Rui, AD. Rui makes both free throws. Lakers up 94-93. Over the course of 48 seconds,
2 possessions.
Jeff Green ends up making a three that AD had been shading off, likely would have been left open regardless of who was out there, because they're giving Jeff Green that shot. They'd rather protect the rim. Lonnie then misses a three. They end up in semi-scrambled transition defense. Bruce Brown ends up getting a three. Timeout. LeBron's back on the floor. And people talking about, there was momentum going, and you take LeBron out and things end up falling apart. Two things with that. A, I think everything that happened during that 48 seconds could have just as easily happened with LeBron out there, because there are things that have happened throughout this series. But the other thing I think that's important to remember, and I don't know this for a fact, but this is, I think, an educated guess because I actually rewatched this sequence. I think LeBron wanted to come out, or at least was fine with coming out, because when the horn sounded and Lonnie came in, LeBron did not look the slightest bit surprised. He knew exactly who was being subbed out, him. He sat down. They showed him on the bench. He looked fine with everything. Plus, if LeBron really thought this ain't the time to take me out, you know what he would have done? He would have waved off Lonnie.
Yep.
Because stars do this stuff all the time.
Yes. Like, you can't. He's a 38-year-old player in his 20th year, struggling with fatigue, who you're asking to essentially play the entire second half.
Right.
If you're going to do that, you need to, and it was done, the Lakers called timeout to get him back on the floor.
Right.
Like, you have to be able to try to find a minute and a half to let him catch his breath.
And this is the time where it's going to be extended because Rui's at the line anyway.
Right. And you've got it. It's close. And you figure, okay, we want to be within 3 or 4 again, when you want that lineup to finish the last 7.5 minutes of the game, and suck it up. It's game for, it's not how this works. There are consequences to keeping him continuing to run up and down the floor. And it sucks. It's disappointing. At the very least, you want the Lakers kind of go out in a 7-game series where they.
To be honest, it sucks because given the age of LeBron and AD, you don't know, is this their best chance of getting back to the finals and winning a championship?
More issues that we'll talk about, as if this goes to where we expect. I don't have a problem with it. You know, I mean, he played 44 minutes. Like he's 38 years old. He played 44 minutes. He is clearly struggling with fatigue. You have to try to. You have to try to protect him. And like, you know, I understand it's game 3. It's a must win.
If he objected to it that much,
I agree with you.
Waved it off.
It's 48 seconds. If your team can't figure out, 2 possessions, just 2 possessions. And I agree with you. The green 3-pointer had been wide open anyway. All right. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go to see the show, participate in it, and hopefully after, still alive after game 4, Andy. What do they say in poker, Andy? Chip in a chair.
Yep.
Lakers still have a chip in a chair.
Yes, they do.
Hopefully they will after Monday, but we'll be back after the game. See everybody then.